Good morning and welcome to week 3 of me going over my VODs for Aegis Esports. Right now we've got Omega OCE versus, I think this is SNOR Spoppy, and it's Spidz versus Teo 822. Originally I wasn't going to go against Teo 822, originally it was going to be fake into Teo because we had first pick. Because all three of us had positive matchups into Shirokuro, all three of us had positive matchups into Quasarian, and none of us had positive matchups into Teo. So we thought that one of us should take the loss against Teo and get the other two matchups squared away. But as we were doing scrims, it turned out that I wasn't that favoured into Quasarian, and I had the chance of beating Teo with beating their Seraphine Victor. So going into this matchup, this is a late-minute decision where I'm going into the enemy gamer here without prepping against their decks a bit, like at all. I'd only been preparing against Quasarian here until we realised that I cannot reliably beat Quasarian, while Fake Hero can definitely beat Quasarian. We're running back a very similar lineup to last week, where we're doing Red Gwen, a Vayne deck, and Severuction. And Severuction and Red Gwen haven't changed, but instead of Vayne Pantheon, we've got Vayne Jax. Going against Ash LeBlanc, Varus Pantheon, and Seraphine Victor. Now, two of their decks are Frostbite decks, which are anti-mid-range typically, and so you just have to ban one of the Frostbite decks. I choose Ash LeBlanc. But Pantheon, Varus is very, very similar. It's just like a Harsh Winds or Unforgiving Gold deck that's trying to beat you up. I don't remember exactly how these games go, but it should be good fun, and I at least remember who wins. And I think I remember the second game pretty well. We're doing Severuction versus Victor Seraphine, and we definitely need units, so we just full mulligan for units, and this is a pretty good hand, right? Like, we've got the Treasure Seeker to be able to pressure a lot of damage, especially with the 5-2, and getting a second one is just really, really good, and I think we got a really good hand against Teo in a matchup that is favoured, but my version of the deck isn't as favoured as other versions, right? I'm still on Bruiser, I'm not running Combat Cook, I'm not running Ruin Runner, I'm running a bunch of quicksands that don't do anything, and so while this is a great hand, we're also not running like a bunch of 1-drops. Like these are 2 of our 3 1-drops. A lot of other versions of the deck run a lot more 1-drops nowadays. They do the high note, but getting a high note out here is pretty good for us, and yeah. I think we're just in a good position going up against Teo. Earlier today I did a cast for EMEA Aegis, and I'm a bit still in the casting mindset. I'll move my cursor away. But Teo takes his time, and he's got the more complicated deck to think about, Seraphine Victor. But Get Excited here was interesting. I've got 2 choices. I had the ability to do Shapestone to protect the 3-3, or keep Shapestone much later to deal with other forms of spell-based removal. Right, because Teo's deck is all built around pings and spell-based removal, and what I didn't want to do is run into like a Vile Feast here, especially since I wanted to develop the next turn, because I was really keen on the idea of developing Broadwing plus the 5-2. So I end up not Shapestoning here, but it's much the same. Now, they're not running Whale, so they have to do a Vile Feast here or a Mystic or something, but that's going to be true for most of the units that I'm going to play. Do I play Shaped? Ah, okay. It's a different game where I don't play Shaped. I think the shape makes sense. Again, because they don't have Whale, they're forced into playing Vile Feast, and I think they... Right. My logic was that if they had Vile Feast, they would have just played it. They would have pinged off the 2-1 and had the blocker. So they don't have Vile Feast here, because they just would have played it just then instead of the Get Excited, which is costing them a card here. I think it cost them the time check. But we just do the Broadwing into the 5-2. Fan Club President, they can't even play the spell of Fan Club President, and they can't afford anything. So not only is this 10 damage, we also get to keep up Broadwing alive. And we're like in a really favourable position, especially since we got 2 fearsomes in hand and another 5-2. And our draw has just been absolutely immaculate, right? Like, for $5 name a woman, for $5 name a better draw, right? We're just really able to put the pressure in here. I don't know what else I can say. I don't think we've done anything wrong. I did like the Shapestone. It's against someone else where I don't do the Shapestone there, I'm pretty sure. They play another one, so they've got 2 5 mana, 2 mana spells. You know how Fan Club President works for now until she gets nerfed. And I think here we just end up playing the Sivir. Just because it allows us to go wider with our threats, right? Like, even if they somehow interact with our board, yeah. If they somehow interact with our board, I'm still rather have the 5 strength thing going in, especially since we've got the Absolver in hand, right? The amount of damage that we can threaten just needs like 2 units to strike the Nexus, and allowing us to have 2 units striking the Nexus is pretty easy to do against a deck that's also relying quite heavily on fast speed spells. Now, the only thing that they can get at slow speed that's like that big of a punish is something a Fan Club President, but I think in general, if we're putting pressure on and they're forced to be doing their Fan Club President stuff early, and it's still, I can't imagine a spell being that good anyway. I think we're just in like a really good position, so I think I do develop the Civic, yeah. And push comes to shove, we can always single combat, which I think is what's on my mind. There's a good chance we might do single combat plus Absolver, so that even if they develop a unit, we can single combat it and just pull the Fan Club President to the side with a 2-2, which allows us to push lethal with both the 3-1 and the 4-2 with Absolver, and if they somehow also manage to deal with Sivir, yeah. So I think the Civ is the right play, just because we can single. And we can also single the 2-1 into something and then play the 5-2. I remember what they do here. That's right. They Mystic. This is the play I'm thinking about. We have the choice to either Absolver here or not. Absolver keeps our unit alive, but is worse into Withering Wail from the President. And my thinking here was that Withering Wail from President is like one of the few ways I lose the game. So I thought that I don't want to do Absolver here, just in case I lose to Withering Wail from Fan Club President. So from memory, I just developed the 5-2. The threat and damage once more. Because if they wail after we 5-2, I don't think we have a lethal, but we're still threatening a lot. God, this music is quite a vibe. We open. I don't hate the open, but I think I developed 5-2. There we go, yeah. Sorry, I had to cough. We developed the 5-2 here. Now, this is the play that I remember them doing. They play Grasp of the Undying into Loaded Vessel to try and kill the Sivir. Both of these are from the Fan Club Presidents. And at this moment, I decide to do the Absolver. Right, my thinking here is that they would have probably played Vile Feast instead of Loaded Vessel if they could. To put the Spell Shield. So they clearly don't have a Vile Feast, and they didn't have a Vile Feast a few turns ago. You play this, and I think they just hit the concede button, because we're just, yeah, we're threatening a lot of damage here. Trying to move this off the thing. Can I have some water? And move on to the next game. Pretty quick and easy victory. There wasn't much that we should have done differently. I think playing the Shaped was correct, and not playing the Absolver first was also correct. Like, waiting... We didn't need to put it on the Merciless Hunter. Now I've got Red Gwen versus this deck, and I remember deciding... It was a difficult decision on the Katarina. Katarina just dies, and it dies in a pretty tempo-positive way for them, because it dies to a 2-mana spell. But forcing them to do a spell on Katarina is also pretty valuable. We can also get the Blaze Edge from Katarina, which means that we're not losing entirely on value. I think I end up picking Katarina with the thought that if I don't draw any Hollowed, and I've just got a Katarina in hand and not much Hollowed, I think Teo can easily outgrind me. So if I draw not early enough of a curve, and my first card ends up being something like a Katarina, then just based on how Teo's deck plays around with removal, that it's very... it actually removes stuff, it doesn't just stall it out. And it removes it pretty efficiently, especially since we don't have any buff spells. I think keeping Katarina wasn't in our cards, because if that Katarina was replaced by either a Phantom Butler or a Boisterous Host, it would be so much better for us. It was replaced here by a Harrowing, which is very similar, in as much as Harrowing's a very good win condition against a deck that doesn't run Deny or Rata Negation. But Obviously, they're playing like different types of game states. Now, I do remember how this game goes, and I remember thinking that I misplayed in the moment, and I don't know if I did, but we're going to get to that eventually. Play the Hookmaster. This is another tough decision that I think has a lot of interesting play. We can take the Fisherwhack or the Panapane. Panapane plays around Vile Feast more, and Fisherwhack allows us to have better late game more when it comes to putting it on like Air Dancers or a Gwen or something like that. While Panapane is much easier to be chump blocked, obviously, because it doesn't have the overwhelm keyword, but it's better into PNZ removal because it's all numbers based, and it's better into Shadow Isles removal because besides Vengeance, it's also all numbers based, right? So I remember contemplating the decision a lot. I'm pretty sure you take the Panapane, but honestly, both are pretty justifiable depending on the sort of game plan and the way you like to play the game, right? Like both of these will help you in different ways depending on how you want to play, but I'm pretty sure I just take the Panapane. Based on them possibly having Vile Feast and wanting to get early damage in. They end up quietusing, which I'm fine with. They run 3 Quietus in their deck from memory because they're trying to beat Seraphine. And yeah, top decking Gwen here was really, really good. It allows us to push a lot more damage in the shot term. I play a Rune Squire here. There's arguments to pass to burn their mana, but their deck's going to be playing reactive anyway, and I'm not getting much out of burning their mana in this position, I don't believe. They attack here. I don't know if I agree with their attack, because I just block and then they're forced to deal with Gwen more than they would if they just kept the Spiderling. Like, Spiderling's much better as a blocker depending on what their hand is like, right? And that Spiderling, I don't think ever wants to trade with that 1/1. Ever. Like, when I'm attacking, that Spiderling wants to be chumping 5-6 damage at some point. Not being a measly little 1/1. And while I could Vile Feast it off, I don't think that's the most valuable play. I hadn't considered the Vile Feast earlier. I do think it's worth keeping mana up. I don't want to be tapping out fully, but there was the option to Vile Feast there. But because I've got no hallowed procs at the moment, a 1/1 isn't that threatening, and I'd rather just guarantee that trade than put a Vile Feast on the stack. And let them, like, Vile Feast us in return or something, right? Yeah, so they've got the Fan Club President. They're going to get something from Fan Club President. This card ends up mattering a lot, the card that they pick. And changes the course of the game entirely. And I can give you a few turns to try and think what card they got, a Fan Club President. Be like a little mini game. God, I'm such a good YouTuber. I'm trying to advertise like the cards that they can get. But that card ends up being super important. We're going to play the 4/3 this turn just because, well, you can play it after dances. I want to just develop the board so that we've got a 4/3 that can attack next turn. And it allows us to... I want to just explain this a bit more. We can play the 4/3 after we play Dancers, but if Dancers dies, then playing the 4/3 after Dancers is pretty bad in terms of tempo reasons. Like, we can get a lot of tempo now, and while we would get more tempo if they somehow don't interact with the Dancers, it's much more worth playing the 4/3 here. We also get to level up Gwen, which can matter in some situations. In addition, if we keep drawing a couple of units, we can play those units on turn 7 to do the harrowing on a much later turn, like our turn 8. So that's why I really like playing the 4/3 here. It's probably pretty obvious that you want to play the 4/3 here, but sometimes people see Ruined Reckoner as like a massive combo piece when, you know, all the cards in this deck can be played in a million different ways, and playing the Ruined Reckoner here just allows you to play for an aggressive line, especially since they just Song Spin it and can't really do much against me. They've got 3 2-mana cards, but they don't have any cards in their deck that they really want to play right now. And so they get Entreat, which is pretty good for them, but not great for them. It's not interacting with my board, and we just play Ruined Reckoner and are able to deal 5 damage. So we do it on the Gwen, deal the 5, level up the Gwen, click the eye. If you don't click the eye, what are you doing? And they've still got 2 cards in hand that they've not played in terms of 0 mana, and from memory they just don't play them. And I don't remember what they were exactly, but my memory is that they don't play their 3 cards. They're 2 free cards. Okay, no, they play 1. Is it Pokey? It's Proximity Puffcap, that's right. Which is fine. Probably one of the lowest rolls they could get, honestly. I'd be struggling to see what their other option was, because Proximity Popcat does very, very little. Like, this sets them up for a Mystic, and from memory they do play Mystic. And we play Dancers here. Logic with Dancers is that they have to Vengeance it immediately, which gives me a hallowed proc. And if they don't Vengeance it immediately, I'm pushing 5 extra damage, which is fine. I'm getting another Blade Fragment, because I'm pretty sure it revives the Blade Fragment guy. So I just played the Dancers here, just because, like, there's no punish, right? Even if they Vengeance it, they're going to Vengeance it anyway. We can even Glimpse Beyond, and they're not... And by Vengeancing it, they're not able to kill the Ruined Reckoner, which means I'm still pushing a bunch of damage. From memory, I don't think they can justify killing it. I'm pretty sure they play Mystic on the Ruined Reckoner. Now, right now, I think we don't threaten lethal. Now we can Vile Feast our own unit to threaten lethal, which means we should have Vile Feasted maybe a few turns ago to be in a position here where we could threaten lethal. So the Vile Feast that we could have done when the 1/1s traded into each other may have ended impacting the way the game is threatened. But here they play the 3/3, and I think we Vile the 3/3. I think I Vile Flock the 3/3. That's my memory. My thinking was that we're forcing them to play one of their 2-mana spells, either Mystic or something that got off Song Spinner. And I don't think... So Vile Flock can hit the Seraphine, and we know they've got a Seraphine or a Victor in hand, and Vile Flock can kill that. But they're forced to play one of their 2-mana spells before the Seraphine has been played onto something that still is making them take a bunch of damage. Because if we attack here and they do a Mystic and block with the 3/3, we're not pushing that much damage. And while Vile Feast Flock can be pretty good defensively against things like a Seraphine, I don't think it is necessarily the most important thing that we can do right now, especially since I don't think Seraphine is going to be the most threatening thing in the world, considering they've already played High Note, they're not running Ezreal, and they've already played a few of the cards they want to be playing, like Vile Feast. Like, what is Seraphine doubling here that we're super, super scared about? I say, knowing what they're going to be playing, and knowing that there is definitely one thing that I should be scared about that Fan Club President got them, that definitely changes how this game plays out. We do the stunned unit. Threaten a lot of damage here. It's lethal if they don't have a good 2-mana spell. One of the spells of Song Spinner they decided not to play last turn, which means their only card here can be Violent Discord and Mystic Show. Because they've already played Vile Feast and High Note. We just wait. This music is good. They're thinking about their plays. I know that they've got a Mystic Shot in hand, so they just made sure that they weren't supposed to pre-commit it. It doesn't change anything because you're not reviving the 4/2. But they play Mystic and survive at 1 HP. Oh, they play High Note. I thought they already played High Note. Is that last game? That must have been last game. This is obviously not the best quality dubbing. I'm forgetting which games they played things in. Second Gwen here is really good because they're pretty forced to interact with Gwen. I thought they had a Seraphine in hand. No, this gives them the Seraphine, which means they had a Victor in hand from the entry. The Gwen is interesting because they're forced to sort of kill Gwen before I attack, lest they just get burned out. But if they kill the Gwen, then I just get to play Gwen again. We've also got the Harrowing, which is pretty strong and allows us to put a lot of damage in. So we've got a really comfortable hand. In fact, we've also got 2 Blade Fragments. They play the Seraphine here. The Blood Queen has been played. And they get another spell. I think I just pass here. My memory is that I knew they must have had a Victor in hand, otherwise would have played Seraphine before they played Time Trick. And so I just wanted to keep Vengeance up for Victor. And I'm keeping Vengeance up for Victor because one of the few ways they win this is through Lifesteal. And I thought that I don't need to play Harrowing next turn. I can just open attack with Gwen, especially if they play Victor. But if they play Victor, they're not killing Gwen, which means Gwen can open attack and threaten close to lethal. Now, an alternative line is also to glimpse beyond the Gwen and replay Gwen which allows dancers to also revive Gwen, because that will finally get a hallowed proc in the pool. That play is more aggressive and definitely has some merit, where you glimpse beyond, you replay Gwen, and it might have been a better line. But I just played the Vengeance, thinking I'm quote-unquote playing it safe. And doing the Glimpse Beyond Thread the Needle line, Glimpse Beyond into second Gwen line, is pretty strong, and is threatening either 4 or 6 burn, depending if it rounds up or rounds down. I think it rounds up, so it might be 6. As well as having, like, unit-based strikes. So I think that would have been pretty close to lethal. So I think seeing this hand, I would have preferred to see myself do Glimpse plus Gwen. But I end up going for Vengeance here after they play the Victor keyword, just so that they don't get Lifesteal Challenger and like blow me out here. Like Lifesteal Challenger, pull the 1/1, Lifesteal Elusive, heal a bit, and then, I don't know, get Concerted Strike off Fan Club President or something insane like that. Concerted Strike still wouldn't have been enough because we would have had the Vengeance, but, you know, much to do about nothing. Seeing the glimpse in the Gwen in hand makes me sad that I didn't go for that line. So I really like that line in hindsight. Also just lets us use our glimpse and lets us draw our cards and see what they end up giving us. But they pass here, and in my mind, while I know they've got the Fan Club President card in hand and also a Seraphine card, I'm thinking that we're pretty ahead. I don't remember what this is. Is it Quicken? Heavy Metal. I think playing around, like, getting another Mystic or something. I don't hate the Heavy Metal here. Just because it's slow speed, like, you gotta do it before I attack. But I just open. Thinking that they've got to somehow deal with 3 units, chump block, and deal with the skill, right? And then you can do it. And then we see the Fan Club President card, Star Shaping, healing them to a lot against me that only runs Fervor as burn, as a 1-up. And they can invoke a win condition. Now the win condition's pretty slow, right? So even if they get Great Beyond, they need to strike with it for 2 turns and do some other stuff. This is going down to 3, but I remember not being too happy seeing that Star Shaping, and it really put a damper on my feelings on if I was going to win this or not. Now, this isn't like the worst thing in the world. You've got 3 blade fragments here, and so we can definitely craft the blade. But I was just scared that they were going to have ways of invoking their way to victory. If they get, like, destroy 2 units and have a way to deal with my ruination, that could be a little bit scary. If they have a big unit, that could be pretty scary. From memory, they end up just using spells to deal with me. Yeah, they got Seraphine's High Note and Double Mystic, which kills my Gwen. I think at this point, I finally decide to Glimpse Beyond, knowing that I've got the second Gwen in hand and that I'm able to threaten a lot of damage. Now again, an alternate line to that would be to let this go, play Gwen, glimpse Gwen, with the knowledge that we're going to be going for a harrowing line like every single time. But I do like doing the glimpse early and not committing myself to such a specific line that is losable, right? Like making them think that Gwen is still a threat is much more important than like glimpsing Gwen. And that doesn't really change much, right? Like we don't get any value out of glimpsing a Gwen that's not being murdered when we can just glimpse this Gwen. But we see another glimpse here, so we can do that like line and get the extra hallowed and what have you. But at this moment, they've got, it looks like they've got 5 plus 9 mana, but they've actually got a lot more mana than that because of the back alley bar. I think about glimpsing there, but I decided not to. I decided just to develop the Hookmaster and do the Gwen next turn. Just because I'm playing Hookmaster here just in case I draw enough units that make me want to play Gwen and that unit next turn. While I could do the Gwen here to allow me to top deck a Eternal Dancers, I have to do it this way. And Rake is a really good get. Rake on the Gwen allows us to attack before we harrowing, which gives us a lot more play and a lot more reactivity to their reactive stuff against our Gwen, since Gwen leveled up will be threatening a fair bit, which is a little bit, at least because they're forced to block it with now our 2 hallowed procs. So I really like the Scout here. Now from memory, they Quietus. And then a play that I like, that when I was playing High Menorah, when Quietus first came out, I was playing a bunch of High Menorah. The first time an opponent glimpsed in reaction to my Quietus to keep the weapon has stuck with me. And keeping Glimpse as a way to maintain weapons is something that I'm starting to keep in mind when playing with Weapon Masters. But I do the Glimpse here, which should allow me to guarantee the weapon at the very least. And we do get third answers. From memory, I just pass here. Just making sure that I don't have more than 10 cards in hand. More than 9 rather. And here we've got a few options. We can do Katarina Dancer's Flock. We can do Gwen, Katarina, Boisterous Host. We can do some of the Blade Fragments to try and get the Blade. We can do Rake to try and give it to the Gwen or the Dancers. We've got so many options here in terms of what we want to play for. And it really just depends on what sort of hands they're trying to sculpt. Now they're now getting into the short time where they have to make decisions really, really quickly because they've gone over the, 7.5 minutes that you get. So we've got a lot of options available to us, right? Now the issue with the Dancers is that it just costs a lot of mana, where if we play Dancers, we're not playing Rake unless we're also not playing Katarina. Now while that's possible, it does lose a lot more to Vengeances in a way that a Katarina plus Gwen plus Host does not. They play second bar, getting 2 more units and making everything cheaper, which feels really difficult to deal with. Remember, I go for Katarina because I want to set up the flop, and I think Gwen plus Rake is probably my best line. And a lot of their ways of killing Katarina aren't discounted. Now they play the Reggie for free, which gives them a 4 mana thing. But from memory, I just do Blades into Flock. I think here I'm just deciding if I ever want to do it on the 2-1, but I answered that I've got 20 HP. They can't attack with the 2-1 because I block with the 1-1. And if they attack, I'm pretty happy because it lets me do a Harrowing after I do all my Gwen and Rake stuff. By doing this line, I'm taking myself under Eternal Dancers, but I think I'm pretty okay with that. They're playing Fish Fight. Fish Fight I'm pretty okay with because it kills the back alley bar. I just flock on the stack. And this doesn't really change anything considering that while I am going for the Gwen Rake line, I've still always got this Harrowing available to me. So we just play the Gwen here. If they Vengeance Gwen, we can just do Harrowing next turn, and the only way they could have gotten Ruination is from Reggie, and that's like their only real board-based wipe thing that they're that scared of. So Harrowing should be lethal here, if they manage to deal with Gwen. And from memory, they do hit the Vengeance. And so we just hit them with the Harrowing. Because we should be getting 2 Gwens, plus a 3rd Gwen from the Dancers, as well as a Katarina, as well as the 4-3. We just pass, and then we go to the Harrowing line. And even if they deal with our Harrowing, we've still got the Dancers plus the Rake. We've still got the Blade of the Exile in hand, broken for now, but will be reforged. They play Spirit Leech, which is understandable if they're really looking for stuff. There was a line where you put the Rake on the 1-1, but I wanted to play around top decking like certain spells as well as being able to put the Rally on something like a unit. And I don't think the Rake improves our win chances that much if you put it on the 1-1. Like, you can open attack through the 1-1 Rake, you still get to hold up the Blade's Edge, but I'd rather have a guaranteed unit to put the Ruined Reckoner spell on. Because we've got one hand, we've got the 2-1 in hand. As you can see here, we're just dealing a lot with our blue Gwen units and our Noxian attackers. They play Living Legends, which I think the only scary card they could have had was Prison Strike, because if they play the Obliterate two units here, like, I'm still pushing too much damage and they're wasting too much mana to do a play like that. But from memory, they don't have the ability to play anything, and Seraphine is like a play they're doing just to try and create a card this is game, right? Not only are we dealing, what, 4 burn with each of our Gwen, we're also just pushing a bunch of damage, and it is just game. They play Inside of Ages, which they got off this. Seraphine is like another last minute play. They've got Unspeakable Horror, but they're not winning. And that was our win against Teo. So if you remember what we were saying at the start, the way I was going to beat this is by trying to beat the Seraphine Victor. And we did that pretty successfully. I'm definitely glad that we did this over putting Fake into Teo and me possibly into Quasarian when Fake wasn't even that favoured into Quasarian. And yeah, from memory, we go... Right, so I 2-0'd, which means someone else 2-0'd, and we also got 1-2'd. So we do win this set 2-1. And that gives us a win over SNOR Puppy. Thank you for watching.